Whenever I've tried watching a new TV series, Kevin, in the past, I usually like to implement with myself the 3-season rule. Like, usually if you manage to... Well, if you push through the first 3 seasons, then you get an idea of what the show is about. And if you want to jump off, 3 seasons is usually the jumping off point. I mean, you can sit down and actually watch the entire thing if you want, or you can jump off at 3 seasons and all is perfectly fine. I mean, there are some shows, okay, that I'll admit I just watched them and I didn't get them, like Game of Thrones. I appreciate it's one of the biggest franchises in the world right now. It just wasn't my cup of tea. But 3 seasons is usually what I can see from most other shows. I mean, for example, when I finished watching the first 3 seasons of Scorpion earlier this year, I do know that they did get a 4th season, but given how I know how that particular season ended, and just the ending that season 3 has, I just want to allow them to have a happy ending just for the time being. I may come back at some point to actually finish season 4, but for the time being, I'm just going to say season 3 is my jumping off point for Scorpion. Castle was another case, because the first 3 seasons of Castle, I think, very much fit the mould. Like, the first season, okay, they're a little bit wobbly, but they're still getting used to it. Season 2, they've started to hit their groove, and they're getting really into it. Season 3, they're on the pace, they've got the mark. And I definitely felt like I wanted to come back to Castle at some point, but I felt 3 seasons, okay, I can go off now and explore other shows, but I can come back to it. However, given that last year I received season 4 of Bones, and I watched through, I kind of felt like I should give Castle a season 4 at least. Because I pretty much got into Castle and Bones for the same reason. A crime procedural leaning more towards a comedy side with an odd couple pairing, and both of them had sides of the odd couple pairing that were portrayed by former Whedonverse actors. For Bones, it was David Boreanaz. For Castle, it was Nathan Fillion. But anyway, the 4th season of Castle aired between 2011 and 2012 and saw the return of most of the previous cast, including Nathan Fillion as novelist Richard Castle, Stana Katic as his partner, Detective Kate Beckett, their friends Javier Esposito, played by John Huertas, and Detective Kevin Ryan, played by Seamus Dever, the ME, who usually consults them on the case, Lainey Parrish, played by Tamala Jones, as well as getting backup support from Castle's daughter, Alexis, played by Molly C. Quinn, and his mother, Martha Rogers, played by Susan Sullivan. Now, the main big difference between this and the previous 3 seasons is that Captain Roy Montgomery, their captain of the precinct, previously played by Ruben Santiago Hudson, he had died at the end of the previous season and is now replaced with a new captain of the precinct, Captain Victoria Yates, played by Penny Johnson-Gerald, who, she's a stark contrast to Montgomery. I mean, while Montgomery was seemingly allowed to easy going and allowed most things to slide, Gates isn't that good. I mean, she is one of the kind of cliche in shows that the female person in charge who... Oh god, that sounded so bad. But anyway, the big woman who's in charge and is so hard that she insists you call her Sir, which I kind of think is a little bit more sexist the more and more I think about it. But anyway, she's that kind of character, and she does prove early on that she doesn't really approve of Castle, a novelist hanging around her precincts, but while at first Castle seems to leave after everything going on, he is eventually allowed back in by the mayor and things go forward from there, even if she's not very happy about it. But this particular season also sees a lot of things changing. For example, Molly C. Quinn's character of Alexis Castle, now is the time when she's turning 18 and she's looking to go to college and looking to start colleges and in fact, there's a very interesting storyline partway through where she applies for early admission to Stanford, where her boyfriend is going, and then she doesn't get in. And she spends pretty much the entire season kind of worrying about what she's going to do and trying to figure out where does she go from here. Where does she go now she didn't get into her first place? In the last few episodes, it's shown that while she didn't get accepted for early admittance, she is accepted for just going to Stanford on its own. To which she starts to question, I always wanted to go to Stanford, but given that they rejected me once, what's to stop me from getting hurt again? Which I do think is quite a nice storyline. You also do get to see it with Castle that he's loved his daughter for the 18 years that she has been alive, and now to suddenly see her going off to college, you can see that he wants to do what's best for her, but at the same time, it does fear that he is going to miss her. And of course, Star Mechanics Kate Beckett, the big thing with her is that at the end of the previous season, she was shot, and while she does manage to survive to this season, she does begin seeing a therapist and trying to work through her issues, as well as remembering that on her deathbed, as it was, Castle had told her that he loved her, and she now has to deal with that, and wondering what happens now with everything. And once again, there are a lot of special guest stars who have been in this particular season, but the two that I really want to bring up, one that I did notice, the other one that I didn't, but I'm actually surprised to find out it was her, and I love it. The first one that I want to talk about is Adam Baldwin as Detective Ethan Slaughter. Like, in one of the final episodes of this particular season, Castle is beginning to feel a little bit separated from Beckett, feeling that she's kind of pushed him away and that maybe he should push her away as well. So he ends up trying to look for a new muse, and he finds one in the form of quite brutal cop Detective Ethan Slaughter, played by Adam Baldwin. Now, this isn't the first time that Nathan Fillion and Adam Baldwin worked together, as they previously worked together on Firefly, with Fillion playing Captain Malcolm Reynolds and Baldwin playing Jane Cobb, which it is nice to see the two of them get to work together again, although I will admit Baldwin's character I found was a little unsettling, because he is shown to be the typical, well, not so typical archetype of a cop who plays by his own rules, and while Castle loves that at first, he quickly finds this guy a little too much, shall we say. Like, he's preparing to put other people on the line just to get to where he needs to go. Whereas Becky does very much by the book. This guy is he's off his rocker in most cases, but he is still fun to watch. And the other kind of big guest star that I found out was in there, and I'm honestly a bit surprised about, is actually the current Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. Actually, she played a character in an episode involving a serial killer who seemingly killed women who were dressed up as fairy tale characters, like such as Red Riding Hood, Snow White, and Sleeping Beauty, and she actually turns out to be the killer. I mean, sorry, a bit of a spoiler alert for that one, but I honestly was a bit surprised to find that. I mean, I knew she was an actress, but it's something weird to think that after this particular season was broadcast in 2011 to 2012, and just to now think the Duchess of Sussex was in an episode of a show I enjoy. It's weird to think about. But they had a lot to throw into this particular season, and they did it. I mean, you've got cases based around superhero vigilantes, cryogenics, sculptures, ghost hunters, hostage negotiations, casinos, tiger smugglers, players, dog trainers, gangsters, the CIA at one point for a two-parter. That was pretty fun. Fairy tales, dance shows, protesters, and even zombies. Castle is just one of those crime procedurals that I just think is a lot of fun. There are some crime procedurals, like maybe CSI, that lean more into a realistic side of things, but Castle, I think, does it fun. And you know what? I love it for that. I'd say my favourite episode this time around, though, would probably be episode number 7, Cops and Robbers, in which Rick Castle and his mother get trapped inside a bank being robbed, and Beckett is effectively on the outside and trying to find a way to deal with the hostage negotiations. And I do think it's a nice kind of change of pace, seeing Castle as a hostage in a situation where neither side is sure what's going to happen. I admittedly didn't see the twist coming with this particular story, which I won't reveal here. Go off and watch the episode and you'll see what I mean. But I'm also a schmaltz for the ending, where it is just going to be spoilers for this bit here, but I think I love it. And that's where, at the end of it all, Beckett asks Castle if he wants to go and get a drink at the old haunt, to which he instead invites her to have dinner with him, Martha, and Alexis. And just the four of them having lunch together, having dinner together at the castle loft after a big case like that. It's schmaltzy, but I love it. So, Castle Season 4, I decided to leave Castle just for a little while, just to explore other shows, but I'm glad I came back to it, and Season 4, I did feel it was good once again. And it does end, while the previous season ended on something of a dramatic cliffhanger, this one does end on a little bit more of a kind of lovey-dovey note, and it did prove that things were going to get a lot steamier as time went on. Anyway, there you go, there's my quick little thoughts on Castle Season 4. Hope you enjoy it too. Till next time, see ya.